Hello, friends, and welcome to the Wisdom, Wellness, and Wealth Monthly series brought to you by the Pieces Collective. Today, we're discussing Makerpreneurship, the business of craft. Akrama Muhammad, executive director of the Pieces Collective, was recognized as a remarkable woman on DC News Now. The Pieces Collective is definitely a remarkable business committed to using creativity to help serve the needs of the community and contribute to the economic, social, and human development of women, youth, and young adults. It truly is inspiring for us to be gathered together to learn from and be supported by each other. Let's see how the Pieces Collective is impacting communities.
It's Wednesday, which means that we are honoring another remarkable woman who lives right here in the DMV.
Yeah, this week we are highlighting Akrama Muhammad, who is spreading peace through sewing in Maryland. Our Annalisa Gale sat down with her.
And this is a quilted bag that I made.
Akrama Muhammad is the owner of the Pieces Collective, using her love for sewing and her creativity to give back.
We hear about all of the problems that we have in the community, and I want to start to be more focused on the solutions. A lot of times people, again, need to have something that they're passionate about, have something to do.
With home economics classes missing from many school curriculums, she says she's trying to bring back the principles that are usually taught. She has been showing young people how to sew in Howard County and Baltimore since 2018.
Well, sewing teaches so many lessons. It's also about how it relates to real life issues that you may have, how it can be relaxing and therapeutic. In the classes, I like for people to come out feeling confident. It also opens up the opportunity to have conversation. A lot of times young people are struggling with issues that they don't necessarily come out and talk about.
The nonprofit also raises money for community projects.
So once a month, on the third Wednesday of every month, we have a forum online where we invite speakers and experts. It's free. The topics range from financial literacy. We've had several speakers come on and talk about health, particularly Black women's health and health in the Black community.
The former sales representative for a newspaper also started another initiative known as Sewing for the Soul.
SOWING for the soul.
Which is in its third year.
I love gardening, growing tomatoes and cucumbers.
And she's sharing the fruits of her labor with young people.
I worked with a youth group one time, and this was in the city, and we were having lunch. And she had never had a tomato, not just a fresh tomato, never had a tomato. I think that our young people in particular are hungry for this. I work with children because that's where the foundation is. If you can give children a good foundation and expose them as much as possible, then they will grow up and thrive.
Annalisa Gale, DC News Now.
What a blessing it is to be part of this amazing community. The Pieces Collective is made up of fantastic makers and minds. And in order to have a full conversation, let's bring some of those great minds out. First, let's welcome Wahib Shepsumat.
Greetings
Welcome.
to everyone.
Great to have you here, Wahib. Wahib Shepsumat is a principal member of Bami Products. Bami Products is a family-run business that started in their kitchen as a result of personal skin challenges. Their products include handmade soaps, salts, deodorants, massage oils, body butters, and scrubs. Their goal is to make a good moisturizing product without compromising on cost. Bami Products has been a member of the Handcrafted Soap Makers Guild since 2002. We also bring to the screen Rochelle Johnson.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, great. Welcome, Rochelle.
Thank you.
Rochelle Johnson is founder, owner, and artisan of the Queen's Temple Handmade product line, selling products through her website, at pop-up shops, artisan markets, and through select local retailers. The business was born out of chance in a visit to Whole Foods in 2013. The varieties of natural products, colors, designs, and scent combinations sparked an idea in Rochelle's mind. I think I can make my own soaps. The Queen's Temple Handmade product line has grown from 1 bar of soap to sugar scrubs, raw shea butters, facial cleansers, exfoliants, and in 2019, soy candles and aromatherapy. And finally, we are so happy to have the remarkable woman herself, Akrama Muhammad.
Hi.
Hi, welcome. Akrama Muhammad is the owner and creative director of the Pieces Collective. Ms. Muhammad uses the time-honored tradition and art of sewing to refashion new and used fabrics that might otherwise be discarded into restyled original tote bags and other designs. She is currently a teaching artist at the Jubilee Art Center in Baltimore. Ms. Muhammad has been featured on several media outlets, including the DC News Now Remarkable Women series, Voyage Baltimore Magazine Rising Star Edition, Black Business Spotlight on the Black Achievement Fund, and Be More Lifestyle TV. She loves spending time with family, sewing, art, and working with women, youth, and young adults. One of her favorite quotes is, "It always seems impossible until it's done," by Nelson Mandela. So we have a very impressive group. I'm really excited to speak with all of you today. I want to encourage all of our viewers to put your questions in the chat as things come up, as you're listening and you're thinking, oh, I want to know more about that. Go ahead and type your questions into the chat. When something really resonates with you, feel free to share that feedback. Right now, let us know maybe where you're dialing in from. Go ahead and put in your location. We're going to start this conversation. So this is a question for all of the panelists. What was the first thing you can remember making in your life, and how did it make you feel?
Wow. You're making us go back, Stephanie. At least me. I'll speak for myself. I have to think way, way back. But I will say the first thing I can remember making, and this is going way back, is cookies with my grandmother. And I used to always like to be in the kitchen with my grandmother. And she would be making cookies. I would be playing with the dough and rolling the dough around. And sometimes that dough would get so black from your hands rubbing it around. But my grandmother would bake it anyway, and then she would eat it when it came out. So that, as a grandmother myself now, I realize, what the love of your grandchildren will make you do.
Right.
That's the first thing I can remember.
I love that.
I was in the kitchen as well with my grandmother. And unlike Akrama, she would give me a big bowl, and I would go up inside of her spice cabinet and the refrigerator and dump mustard and milk and everything in a bowl with spices. And she would ask me, "What are you making?" And I said, "I don't know. It's just some type of soup." And I would have a spoon and it would be turning colors from the mustard and ketchup and all those things. So it was just a bowl of something. But that's how everything started. She would just let me be creative.
Isn't that where so many dreams come from? A bowl of something. I love that.
Wow. Yeah. If Kwame wouldn't have said anything about food, I would have drew a blank for the next 5 minutes, to be honest with you. But if I think the earliest days, then I think of myself as a youth making, like butterscotch crimpet, making your own butterscotch crimpets, with just bread and butter and sugar in a pan, and so the something in a bowl reminded me of, some people call them wish sandwiches, but we had mayonnaise sandwiches, just different things that we did when we were young. And maybe I'm telling my financial status when we were kids, you know what I'm saying? But when we ain't had nothing to eat, we would come up with something, and for us it was gourmet. It was like, wow, I'm doing something great,
Yeah, we definitely had mayonnaise sandwiches while I remember the mayonnaise sandwiches.
Ours were king syrup on the
oh yeah. I had my share.
And that was the best sandwich after school.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. I love that there's this common thread of all of you remembering making food when you were very young. When you think of this word maker, what does being a maker mean to you? Does that include food? Is it specifically physical products? Is it making anything? What does it mean to you to be a maker?
Wow.
Can anyone be a maker? Are there qualifications to become a maker?
I'll jump in. I think that makers kind of spans a lot of different areas. And like you said, anyone can be a maker. We're all makers, you know. It could be making food. It could be making craft products. It could be making community, making family.
Wow.
You know, it's just something that you have input and you give yourself to, something that you're passionate about, and you produce and you produce an outcome that is beneficial to other people and gives people joy. So I think anyone can be a maker. If you want to take it to, you can take it to different levels. I'll say that.
Yeah. I'll piggyback off of Ikrama because I believe that everyone has a gift or multiple gifts. And I think making requires you to be still for a moment so that you can think about, your gifts and what you have and what you want to produce. You bring things together. It could be ingredients for a cake or, anything to eat, or it could be materials or raw ingredients. In my case, when I make product. And I think that everybody has the gift to be able to create. It takes a lot of quietness and stillness to tap into what you have inside. And then once you're still, then those downloads start to come. It's almost as if, the creator just feeds it into your brain and you're like, wow, and you come up with these ideas and then you just start to produce. But I believe everyone has a gift or multiple gifts.
Following up on that, Rochelle, how do you find time to be still in a world where I'm sure you're balancing lots of different things? Is that something that comes naturally and easily to you, or do you have to really carve out that space?
For me, I have to carve out that space because I'm retired from local government for 12 years now, but I'm still working a full-time job and I have a full-time business. So my body gives me the indication that I need to slow down, and I try to carve it out. But a lot of times now, by me being a little older, my body tells me, go home, sit down for a minute. I'm in this recliner, which I love. This is my think chair right here. And I just learned how to make myself just sit down, maybe draw the blinds a little and just be still and be quiet. And then the ideas just start coming. But I believe that's something that I've had to, learn how to do, of course, with this crazy schedule of mine, but I have to make myself be still. And then that's where my creative flow comes.
Okay. So you're working a full-time job, yes, and then also finding time to create your own amazing products. I know that viewers are watching this and thinking, I want to know more about those. We actually have a great video that will give you a sample of some of the amazing things that Rochelle has made. after watching that, I feel like my screen smells better. Like I feel like my computer smells really good right now.
Yeah, you have a wonderful smell, wonderful sense, and you feel very, very relaxed, right?
Yes. Yes. I want to go back to what you said, Akrama, about anyone being able to be a maker, and that you can be a person who makes physical products or who makes community connections. And I think that really ties into the distinction between being a maker and a makerpreneur. I love this word. I hadn't heard that word before getting involved with this panel. And I would love to hear your thoughts on what is the difference between a maker and a makerpreneur? Because all of you are makerpreneurs. What sets those two categories apart?
I think it's just a different level. Like, as I said, we're all makers. And I'm glad you went back to this point, because I wanted to bring up the fact to talk a little bit about our history, as a people, as being the original makers. When we came here or were brought here, kidnapped here, we had skills. We had all types of skills, and those skills were used to enrich this country, enrich people in this country. And so we were always makers. And if you look at our history prior to us being here, you can see the great, wonderful things that we have made and contributed to civilization. But you look at the history in this country, even when we were enslaved, we were looked to make things better on the plantation, to make the plantation run smoothly and efficiently. It was our people, our ancestors, who made that happen, bringing the skills that they had in terms of building, etching off limestone roofs so that they would be purified. Just all of these things that they knew instinctively and through culture and history to do. And then you go forward, and then the evolution in this country happens, and machines start to do a lot of what people used to do. And this so-called maker movement started again in 2005 by a gentleman, where he wanted to put the focus on hand making things and the beauty of hand making things. And but I don't want us to think like the maker movement or makers, we started with making in 2005. We've always been makers. And I think the difference is as you begin to use more technology and tools, and those who want to make things for pleasure, like we all have aunts and grandmothers and parents and even husbands or wives who like doing things. They just like doing it. They like cooking, or they might like making, might like carpentry, etc. But then to be a makerpreneur, you want to move this to a higher level in terms of business and innovation and making it your life's goal.
I love what you said about makerpreneurship, really putting an emphasis on things that are handmade in a world that's becoming increasingly technology driven. And that makes me think about AI and how AI is now creating art and music, and things are being written by artificial intelligence. And that I think we're moving into an era where there really is something very special about something that was handmade, that that humans were deeply involved in making. So I want to take things back toward the beginning again. This is a question for everyone. I would love to hear from Waib first. Please tell us about the moment that inspired you to move from being a maker to a makerpreneur. How did you know that you were being called into doing this professionally? Did you feel any hesitation or even imposter syndrome as you considered doing that? Did you immediately feel confident? Was there a specific moment, or maybe you always knew, I am meant to go into business selling these things? I would love to hear anything about that moment or that story.
Well, there's a couple turning points for me. Just using the soap for myself, just thinking, using the product, using the soap for myself and seeing what it does for me. Um, it was a big moment, and I said, wow, it's just on a craft level, just on a small level, like, okay, I'm gonna go out and sell these products and I'll have that personal experience. But the next turning point might be a little odd. I was playing ball, I was playing ball like I do every Sunday, and I went up and somebody poked me in the eye while I was in the air. When I came down, I said, man, I was so scared that I wasn't going to be able to, see. Or I'm thinking I got to go to the hospital after this, right? I said, well, I got to do something different with my Sundays. And that's when I started to sell at the Eastern Market. And that really just gave me new vision, because of meeting different people from different countries, and all the different art. And, that was just a whole nother exposure for me. So yeah, that will be the catalyst for me.
I love that you were inspired by your own personal challenges and then realized, you know what, I need a new hobby that is going to be a little less dangerous than contact sports.
Oh my goodness.
Great. Rochelle, can you tell us about your moment of shift or inspiration?
Oh, wow. I was retiring from Baltimore City government, and I had no idea what I wanted to do moving forward after retirement. I didn't want to stop working. So I obviously I'm still working, but I wanted to tap into taking off the representation from the job and being me and doing something that I wanted to do. So I started to change my diet. My daughter and I, we went in the kitchen, we threw out all processed foods, and we were like, we're going to Whole Foods. Okay, this is what we're going to do. Went to Whole Foods, and as you said in the introduction, I smelled these wonderful soaps in the whole body section. And when I picked that soap up, it was an oatmeal bar. And I said, oh my God. And I had no knowledge about soap, how it was made, because I was a Dove girl. I would buy Dove, big packs of Dove. So got that bar soap, brought it home in the shower. And that's when it came to me. It was like, you can make this. Like, really, I can? So that's when I went to the library and I got books and found out rebatch, cold process, melt and pour glycerin. And I fell in love with melt and pour glycerin soaps. And I started making those because they held a lot of moisture. So I started making the soaps, and friends of mine and family were trying them. And they said, wow, we didn't know you made soap. What is it made out of? And then, I got into the educational component about it. And soon I had a table down at Patapsco Market, a $25 table. Didn't know if anybody was going to come to that table or not. And didn't know what I was doing. Had everything in a milk crate and went down there, and people came to my table and started buying. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And I think that's what started the snowball effect with product after product, because it got into my psyche, my creative juices started flowing. And I said, well, wow. And I'm looking at everybody down at Patapsco. They've got shea butter. What is that? I want to make that. I want to make that. And it just took off.
Wow.
Took off. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're
and
welcome.
Akrama, I would love to hear about your moment of inspiration and also how that fit into your vision for community building, if those things were related, if one came before the other, and how do those goals work together, your physical making and your community relationship making?
Mm-hmm. Well, I kind of backed into the makerpreneurship lane because my real focus and passion was community development, looking at the issues and the problems in the community and the challenges that we had. And I studied the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which is a do for self teaching. And one of the things I realized is that we have to, well, it started opening my mind up to certain realities, like what an economy is and what makes this economy runs and how people use resources and attain resources. If we have a lack of resources in our community, why is that? So I kind of backed in that way, and I was working in corporate America, and I was volunteering at a thrift store for an organization that I was volunteering for. And I used to see bags of clothing that we had to discard because they had a minor stain or hole or some type of defect. And I was thinking, wow, we could use this cloth to make beautiful products, et cetera. But we were busy trying to keep the thrift store open, so we didn't have time. But at a later time, when I was no longer working in corporate America, I was like, this is something I want to do. I didn't want to go to find another job. I wanted to do something that I really loved doing, that woke me up in the morning, and I was happy to get going. So I harkened back to a skill that my grandmother taught me, which was sewing. Now, both of my grandmothers sew. My maternal grandmother taught me how to sew, and my paternal grandmother taught me how to sew, and my maternal grandmother taught me how to quilt, or I could see the quilts that she made, and I was very, very inspired by her quilting. So I said, I can't sing, I can't, I don't have any of these other talents. So what can I do? And I thought of sewing. So I took a class to make a tote bag. And then I just started making tote bags, and I got a space down at the Baltimore Farmers Market and Bazaar. Brother Waib was my neighbor there. And I just started selling tote bags, and much like Rochelle said, people were buying them, and I was like, oh, wow, okay. and then after that, people would come down and say, well, do you teach sewing classes? And I was like, no. And they would come down, do you teach sewing classes? And I was like, no. And then one day I was like, oh, maybe I should teach sewing classes. So I sought out an organization, Jubilee Arts, which is a community cultural center in Baltimore. And then I began teaching sewing classes there. So I think it's very important the way you started out the conversation about, can anybody be a maker? Because I used to think, some people were creatives and some people were, technical minded or scientific or whatever you want to call it. And that there was a real distinct difference between those two. But I think, as Rochelle mentioned earlier, we all possess a little bit of all of that. And it's about having the environment and the support from people to inspire you to continue to seek out your creativity. And for me, for some people, if they're fine artists, or they sing, or they make pottery, they're inspired to do that. But I think you can also decide that you want to be a maker, and then get used to that and embody that. I know one time, and then I'll just end it with this. One time I was at the market, and I had my bags all around, and there was this other brother, and he's a genuine, what I say, a genuine artist, right? And a customer came in, and she was saying, oh, these bags are so beautiful. And he said, oh, would you like to meet the artist? And I was looking around like, who is he talking about? He's talking about me? Oh, okay. And eventually, excuse me, I had to own that I was moving into a realm of being an artist. And then, of course, perfecting my craft as I go.
I hear this common thread of being inspired by seeing a problem and knowing that you're in a position to solve it, not having the skin products that you really need, seeing this fabric being disposed of and knowing that it could be put to better use. These bags really do sound incredible. I love this story of you being in that moment and recognizing yourself as the artist who created them. And we actually have a video that will give you a better look at Akrama's amazing work. That really was stunning work. I have to start closing my eyes during those videos because I'm like, I don't need to buy more things, but I everything I see, I'm like, I want all of it. Really great stuff. So I heard you talk, Ikrama, about learning to sew and to quilt from your grandmothers. Rochelle, you talked about going to the library to learn more about soap making and creating products. Waib, I'm curious, what sort of resources did you use as you were beginning to work on Bami products? Was this information that you already had? Did you had to go do some learning? How did you get to the point of knowledge in your craft that you have now? Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, I gotta say I cheated. I had a head start from my mom. So, you know, my mom was the one who started making the products, you know, just for herself. And then I started using them for myself. And then I started more so taking them to the small markets and building from there. And then, you know, I've taken classes with her and I've made different products, and we just kind of go by the customers. You know, the customers give us good feedback or might suggest something that they like, and then you know, we would make different special things for different people. People might be traveling abroad. They say, okay, the mosquitoes are really crazy. We're going to Africa. We know you got lemongrass, but can you make the lemongrass stronger? Can you do it in a butter? Can you do it in an oil or a different form? Can I layer it? You know, so yeah, we kind of evolve towards the customer's needs and demands. Yeah,
That's great.
Great.
So it sounds like you all have gathered information from a number of different sources. As experienced makerpreneurs who have probably seen some ups and downs at this point, what are some pieces of advice that you would give to someone who is admiring your position and just starting out? What might be some stumbling blocks that you discovered that you could tell someone, hey, don't do it this way, do it this way, or make sure that you keep this in mind? What do you wish someone had told you as well when you were starting out? This is for everybody.
Wow. I'll jump in. I wish I had someone to tell me, read all that you need to know about your craft and about the industry of personal care and the business side of it. And I'll say that because for a while, my business was very stagnated. It did absolutely nothing for like 8 months. It sat on my table. I used to live in Catonsville, and I had this table in my dining room where I worked off of. And I used to let that table just sit there because I said, I don't know what else to do. So there was no guiding hand. There was no blueprint. And now you have more communities. But I believe a lot of reading about your industry, your craft, and also making sure that it's something that you want to do, that you're not just watching what someone else is doing. And then you're piggybacking off of that person because that person's doing making shea butter or soaps or scrubs or developing a formulation, and dollar signs go off and you're like, oh, I want to do that, because you're not going to get rich doing it that way. It's not going to happen. Do what you feel God has called you to do. And it's that getting still again and understanding what it is that you love to do, and then expand on that and then keep going. But make sure that it's something that you love to do. I've been doing this now for almost 10 years. I love doing it. I lost sleep over it. I mean, I would go to work and I would sit in my store down at Patapsco with my head bumping up against the wall. Yeah. Be really passionate about what you want to do, and don't just look at what somebody else is doing and try to mimic what they're doing. Do it because you love it, because you live, breathe it, and you love it. And get every book and look at every YouTube video that you can to master what you're doing. I don't care if it's one product, master it. So that's what I can offer.
Excellent.
Yeah, I like what you said about doing something that you love and that you're passionate about, because some people think of being a makerpreneur, entrepreneur, business person, and just see it maybe as, you're free, you can, you own your own time, it's easy, you can make a lot of money, those types of things. But it is hard, it is hard. And I would say not to feel like you have to be successful all at once, to realize that it's going to take time, and that, you're going to have some successes and you're going to have some, I won't say failures, I'll say hard lessons. Because if it's something that you love and you're passionate about, and you feel like you were meant to do it, you're going to keep doing it through those ups and those downs. And you're going to learn from that. And that's how your business is going to grow. And the other thing I would say is to understand that you cannot do it by yourself. That if you continue to try to do something by yourself, you're going to burn out, you're going to be disappointed, and you may give up. But if you understand that you need a team that you can trust and count on, then you're going to go far. We always have this African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And so that's what one thing that I would really encourage people to do, is to build a team and a community to help build whatever their business or dream is.
Great.
Yeah, I like what Rochelle said about even if it's just one product, because what I found is that we had a lot of different scents, and a lot of different products, and it's so very hard to keep up with so many different products. And another thing is that I think structure is critical. Structure. If you had one product and you had structure, then you can take the time to develop more products, and then you will have a platform to move those products, instead of having those moments when you're frustrated waiting for somebody to come by the table and shop with you. Or another thing, at Eastern Market, we would sell a bar of soap to someone and they wouldn't come back for a long time. It's like, okay, I didn't see them for a few months, but they might not use the product. They might not use that particular bar. It's a facial soap. They're just using it for one portion of their body. So you don't get the feedback, and you don't know if they liked it or not. Well, here they come a few months later. Hey, can I get that Moroccan red clay? And all the time you're sitting there like on pins and needles, looking for the more customers. But everything happens in rhythms, or cycles, quite possibly. People could come once a month, once every 6 weeks. You just don't know if you're out there. But if you have that platform, if you had that structure, and especially dealing with the internet, then that would probably be something that you can build upon first, and then go out, meet the people, and introduce them to your website and your online business, so that they have many more ways to access you without just taking that time out of their day to come visit you, or hoping that you're at this particular market or festival.
Mm-hmm. All of that was such great advice, and also why what you just said is a really fantastic reminder for us as viewers and consumers. When you like something, let a business owner know. Write a note, go back and tell them this was great. I can think of so many times that I've purchased something from a small business and loved it, and that thought only lived inside my head. So this is a great reminder to me to let those things be known. And you actually said something that led into the next thing I wanted to ask about, which is, this is for viewers, but also it's a personal question for me. How can we find and access your products? Do you each sell majority in person? Do you have online stores? Have you tried different methods of selling your products and found that some work better than others? Would you advise certain methods for certain things? I would love to hear, what are the forms that you're using to sell your products now, and what might be some of the experience or lessons you've learned through trying different methods?
Yeah, well, I'll speak on that first. When we first started selling products at a pop-up shop, so it was a brick and mortar store, and we did reasonably well there. I enjoyed that, being in the store and having that one-on-one relationship and conversation with customers. But of course, the pandemic hit, and so we had to, as they say, favorite word, pivot. We had to pivot to online and build a website and begin to continue selling that way. So I think it depends on your product, but also either way can be successful, but you have to be consistent, and you have to understand your business and understand your customers. I love selling online because you can reach so many more people. You can be global online if you like. But I also like the brick and mortar because there's no substitute for being able to talk to your customer, develop relationships with your customer, have your customer touch and feel your product, so I think that's very important too. So I think there's just a lot of different ways that we can sell, and they can all be successful. And you probably need to use a combination of those things if you're able.
Well, I'll jump in. I actually use pop-up shops. It was the vending events at Patapsco Market. I had a table, went from a table to a small store, from a small store to a large store. And then that's when I left Patapsco and I started with GoDaddy. I had a website. I built a website. I had no idea how to build a website, and I had no money to pay anybody to build it. So I had to learn it. Here we go again, learning. So I had to do that. And then I moved to Columbia, and that's when I was introduced to the Third. And from there, I started with the vending events there. And then Busboys and Poets, my products were featured there. And right now I'm with Ikrama in the Pieces Collective, that platform. I'm going to be using her platform to sell products. I also have products at Nourish and Journey, which is a wellness spa. And the crazy way that happened, I was going to a sound healing class. And anytime I go somewhere, my grandmother always taught me to bring a gift to the person who invites you, whether it be over their home, to their home, or, you know, just bring a gift. So I brought one of my massage candles and gave it to the owner. And she came back to me and she said, "This needs to be in my cafe. You know, this is beautiful." So that's how the product started selling at Nourishing Journey. And then from there, a couple other spas, and now I'm about to use Amazon as a platform. So it has just graduated level after level, and networking and communicating. You never know where your product is going to go, whose hands it's going to fall into. People are going to reach out to you, email, texting, "Hey, can you come here? Can you come there?" And before you know it, they're asking for you. They want you. They love your product and they want you. And that's how, you know, those you can cast your net wide also, and you know, and get your products out there. And of course, my product is online now, Queen's Temple Handmade, and I'm actually using what platform? Square. I'm using the Square platform.
Great.
So you never know.
It's a great story.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. For me, man, I don't know. We've done a little bit of everything. We've done vending at the farmers market, Eastern Market in DC. We've done farmers markets in quite a few places, some more regular than others. We've traveled. We've done Chicago, South Carolina, and quite a few events in the DMV, of course. So doing the events was our main focus. We had some online presence, but it was never marketed. We hired different people to do the websites, and there were so many challenges. You know, people not doing it right, not being able to finish, or trying to take control and charge more money. So we went through so many different things with the websites, and actually we're redoing the website now. So we're looking forward to being on the Shopify platform moving forward. And of course, we done the pop-ups with the Pieces Collective. That was great. And now what I've done is I've opened up a store, of course, on Studio B. So that gave me a place to settle down, in a sense, you know, instead of doing so many of the markets. But once the new website is finished, we're still gonna have to do the markets, you know, to get people excited about the new website, you know. But then also collecting emails is something that we really didn't mention, you know, collecting emails and marketing the website or the different events or different products to the different people. That's something that I haven't really tapped into yet, but I have collected quite a few emails, and have had quite a good following over the years. And by not really making that connection with the people, you know, people come and go. But if you stay in touch and stay in tune with them, and keep sending stuff out, then you can keep that connection, you know. But I look at the customers as extended family. You know, they enjoy what they're getting, and they enjoy the conversation. So the vending and the brick and mortar, that personal touch, that personal aspect of it is something that you just can't duplicate on any other platform. So I'm always in favor of that, and I think that benefited even the people that has worked for us. I know one person in particular, they were going through some hardships in their life, and they had the opportunity to work a market for us. And of course, there were other people who worked the market, but this person in particular said that, you know, that interaction with the customers helped them through a tough time. And I said, you know, I could see that, you know, because, you know, that interaction with the customer, that comfortability, knowing that you're providing a good product for the people, and just learning about all different things. Like I said, Eastern Market being a place where people come from all over the world, right? So, you know, people came there and said, hey, this one lady in particular, she was getting married in Greece. So she said, well, you have olive oil soap. I would like to have something that represents Greece. So I want these doves made. I want an olive oil soap made for favors. So we made, several hundred doves for her wedding, So it's just like, you never know who you might meet. You never know how you impact the people. I mean, that piece is just irreplaceable.
Yeah, I wanted to just comment on that, Wai, because what we're really saying is that we talk about business, but it's really about relationships with people. That's the key. That's what drives us. That's where we get inspiration. It's about dealing and developing relationships with people. And even when you go to markets or you go to set up, you may have a day when you don't make a lot of money, but you make relationships, you meet people, you have conversations. And I understand what the person who said that they were uplifted by working at the booth, because that's where we get energy. We get energy from each other. And when people, handmade products are different. It's almost like you pour there's a different spirit about it. You put yourself into it. It's, somebody made it with love and cared about it. And like Rochelle said, you stayed up all night to do it. And you want the people to be happy. You're not just wanting, checking the dollar signs to say, oh, how much money did I make? You want people to enjoy your product and be happy. And I think that's why most of the handmade products are products that are made in community. They're made together, particularly the textile products. If you have knitting circles, quilting circles, sewing circles, these are groups, basket weaving, those types of things. Women get together, or men, and they do that together. And while they're doing that, they're passing down stories, history, lessons. So I think the society focuses a lot on going into business and it being about money. And I'm not saying money's not important, but the real root of business is about people and about building community and about serving the needs of people. Like if you go to business school, they'll tell you, oh yeah, you got to serve a need, but it's not the same. It's not like you really care about the needs that you're serving. And I think that as makers and going out to markets, we do that. So I would encourage anybody who's interested in being a maker or even going into business to understand that it's about relationships and focus on the relationships and value those relationships. And then the other thing I would say is to know your numbers. And this is a challenge, for me. I'm not really crazy about numbers, but it's very important to know your numbers in business. What your revenue, your expenses, your cost of goods sold, what's your best sellers, and keeping track of that, because that's all information for you to perfect your product and know what products your customer wants, etc. And to know how you're doing, the health of your business. Just because you made money doesn't mean you made money, because you have to go and check all of your expenses and overhead, etc., and see what you come out with at the end of the day. So those two things are really important. The fact, relationships, number one, but I think why you mentioned it early, structures. Structures so that you can record and document your business. That way you have information to improve and perfect it.
I definitely want to talk more about the business side of makerpreneurship and those structures. But first, I just want to say that personally, I am delighted to hear that you all have or are working on websites and online shopping options, because I will definitely be clicking as soon as I log off of here. And for those of you in Baltimore, shout out to Cheryl B, who is joining us from Baltimore. You definitely want to check out Waib's store. We actually have a video that will give you a preview of some of the amazing things that you can find there. That definitely looks like my kind of place.
I was really grooving to that, Waib.
Yes. So, Ikrama, you made some great comments that started to shift us into the business side of making. And when I start to think about business and the creation of anything great, from a product to a person, I feel like most things start with a name. I would love to hear, what is the origin story, the story behind the name of each of your businesses?
Oh, wow. Well, I'll jump in. Queen's Temple Handmade was originally Queen's Temple Handmade Artisan Soaps, because I started off with soaps. Now my trade name is DBA, Queen's Temple Handmade. And the reason why I came up with Queen's Temple is because my nickname is Queen. My last name was McQueen a while back when I was married. And at my previous employer, all my coworkers called me Queen. So that was my nickname. And I decided in 2013 that I was going to take care of my temple, because that's my body. And I wanted to make sure I put clean products on my body, as well as the clean eating component that I spoke of early on when I was describing how I got started. So Queen's Temple started with my temple, my body, and I wanted to put good products on my body, and in turn give good products to my customers. So that's how the brand was born.
Awesome. Okay. For us, Bami Products is an acronym for Bernadette is my mom, Alicia is my older sister, I'm Marvin, and then Eniko is my younger brother. So that's how the name came about, how my mom put it together. I don't I don't have a clue to how she figured that out, but it seemed to work very fine. Yeah.
I thought, and I think I might have even looked it up. I think it has a meaning, but I never knew it was an acronym for your name.
Yeah, there's a place called Bami, and there's a Bami bread, I think, in one of the islands, maybe Jamaica or somewhere. So, people often ask where it's from, or they say, well, that's from my country or something, like so, people are always trying to figure it out. But I think, I think what she did was kind of ingenious in a way. And it's wonderful how she represented the family in that way, and how I said before that the customers are extended family of Bami Products for me. So yeah, and you guys tapping on so many good things, Rochelle in particular. Always I keep going back and thinking about what you're saying, and what you were talking about, how you created your business, and you coming into consciousness of your foods and your body and things of that nature. And I relate that to handmade stuff as it's in a sense an evolution of consciousness that brings us to this place. You know, there's a consciousness in everything, no matter what you think of. There's deeper information, and I've just learned that just by experience and meeting people. One guy, he bowled. You know, I didn't know, but he started talking about bowling. He said, well, you had to put certain wax on the floor and whatever, depending on what kind of wax it is, that's how you're going to spin the ball. And I'm like, what? And he starts breaking this stuff down. I never knew they use oil on the floor any kind of way. You know, and then somebody talk about fishing and you tell them about this kind of fish goes upstream and that kind of fish likes warm weather. So they come out to eat those particular fish. There's a whole cycle. There's a whole, like I said, consciousness about everything we do. Now, if we were in 1,000 years ago, or, you know, if we were in Africa, your whole family will know nature, will know spirituality through what you do. If you were taking care of horses, then you would know nature and different things about your spiritual systems through what you do, and your family would do that explicitly, you know, from parents to the children to the next on down the line. You know, every family would have particular work to do, you know, particular work to fulfill in the community.
Oh. And Waib, I've just learned that bami is a flat, round, fried Jamaican bread, and also a slang term used for awesome, great, or highly enjoyable. So your mom was really on to something with that acronym there.
Right. That's awesome.
There's no coincidence.
I've eaten bami in Jamaica. It's really good. Yeah, it's paired with the fish and escovitch fish, so it's really good. Yeah, that and festival are kind of the same. One's flat and one's puffy. So yeah.
Oh, nice.
Very cool. And Ikrama, how about the Pieces Collective? I noticed that you spell it PEACE and not PIECE. And I'm wondering, what is the impetus behind the name that you chose?
Well, I first started with when I was making my bags and using pieces of different cloth, recycled cloth, to make the bags. So I had the idea of pieces, but I also like the idea of peace, because I see that as definitely something that we need individually and collectively. And so I spelled it PEACES. And then as I realized, well, you can't affect community by yourself, that's when the Pieces Collective came into being. So understanding that we are a collective and each of us brings different pieces to the table, so to speak. And we use those things together to serve our community. Because I think Waib hit on it as well. That's basically, I think we're oriented in this society to think of business as something separate from community. But it really is one. You know, we have businesses to serve people and businesses to serve community and build economy. The difference, you know, business is about making goods and exchanging goods and services, et cetera. But economy is about how to analyze and use what's produced by those goods and services to serve people. And so that's what inspired me about to do the Pieces Collective and have a collective effort. A lot of times in our community, we lack resources. And even in our businesses, we lack resources, capitalization, et cetera. And the goal of the Pieces Collective is to work together to build a foundation so that we can grow and help others who might want to be makers and pursue that, be successful, and to pool our resources, our intelligence, all of those things and serve our community. I mean, we've had issues that persist, and the only reason they persist is we haven't found those solutions and understand that those solutions reside in us bringing our talents and our efforts to solve those problems and make the things that we need.
Can I just piggyback on what Ikrama said? Because I think another important component is that business consists of education. We as business owners have to inform our customers of the knowledge that we have, because a lot of customers that I've found through the years, for instance, let's take shea butter. Shea butter has to be cleaned. When I was at Patapsco Market, most of the vendors there did not have clean shea butter. And this was something that I found out. And I realized that I didn't even know it, but I wanted to right the wrong or the lack of the knowledge that was there. And I felt it was my duty to let my customers know, you have to take this butter home. You have to melt it down. You either sift it through cheesecloth or one of those, you can get the nut bags, and you have to pull out the debris, because a lot of those butters are made in villages and you have middlemen and they're exchanging hands. You have insects, all types of different things. So I think that as business owners, it's our responsibility to educate also as far as the business is concerned, because a lot of people just don't know, and they didn't know that. And they, I would get, oh, I was putting it on my skin and I didn't know. I was wondering why it was so thick, and it needs a carrier oil. And I would spend a lot of time actually teaching. Like we had I like the word nomenclature. So we were just at the table talking and discussing. And I said, yeah, this is what you have to do. And then your cold processed soaps. And I know, Wahib, you can attest to this, that even the cold processed soaps, when they were coming over buying my glycerin soaps, I let them know they have to cure for 6 weeks. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Yes, because it's caustic, meaning that it could burn your skin. It has to cure for 6 weeks so the water can be drawn out of that soap. It has to evaporate out of that soap. It's going to get harder. It's going to last longer. So I think as business owners, we have to educate in those areas where the public, they really don't know. And a lot of people out there are selling to them and taking advantage of you not knowing. And it's our responsibility as business owners and makers to convey this information to the public, to let them know so they can make a good decision on where they want to purchase and who they want to purchase from.
Yeah. And especially letting them know that's a sign of how much you care about your customers.
Right.
It's not just about the money.
No.
And the quick, making of the product and selling the product with cheap, products. So I think that's something, you're right. It's the consciousness and us educating ourselves and improving our skills and our knowledge, and also relating that to life. With sewing, I know with you and Waib, I've been listening, and there's a lot of science, that goes into that. And even when Waib was talking earlier about I think you were talking about something for the mosquitoes or the lemongrass, and putting more of that in there. I mean, you really kind of in your laboratory mixing up, these scientific concoctions, right? And you really have to know what you're doing, but it's more to it than, I'm just going to make a bar of soap, or I'm just going to make some oils, because these are things that could be toxic, and could do damage. So, and I find even when I'm teaching sewing, I teach about like sewing lessons for life, the same types of things that you're learning, how to read a pattern, how to plan to make a product, how to bring these pieces together and sew them to make a full garment, paying attention to detail. All of these things are having patience,
Oh, yeah.
understanding that things aren't just made in a day necessarily. And I find that we tend to be a little impatient and we want to go from A to Z really quick. You never sat at a sewing machine, but you want to make a full garment today. That's not going to happen, but you just have to, when you share with people, then they begin to understand and they begin to become patient with themselves. And it's not so much about the end game, but it's about the process of learning and how you grow through that process. So, and I do know that people are yearning for these kind of connections and relationships. Even in the sewing class, people before the pandemic, I mean, we just had a lot of people coming, and they see it at the end of the day. They come to this class, and it's a place to bond, to relax, to have sisterhood, and some brothers, because we had some brothers in the sewing class as well. But it was, you just decompress, and you're learning something and making something and being creative and letting your creative juices flow. But you're also spending time with each other. And a lot of times that's missed because we live such busy and hectic lives,
Yeah.
And makerpreneurship or makers is almost going back a little bit to a calmer time when people acknowledged each other and relaxed and made things together. And it was just all part of family and community. We make the things that we need and we share them with each other.
Yeah.
And as you build community and create things together, what do you do and what would you advise aspiring makerpreneurs to do to protect yourself and your creations as you're also collaborating and also building? Do you have recommendations for steps that people should take legally, for processes that they should go through to make sure that their creations are protected?
I'll talk a little bit about that. I'm not an attorney, but what I can say is what I'm actually doing with my business. The suggestion was given to me that I should trademark my name because there's so many makers popping up. So many makers started popping up during the pandemic and after. So I was told, trademark your name. It's a very unique name, Queen's Temple Handmade. Well, actually, Queen's Temple Handmade Arts and Soaps. So that is in the process, just getting over the finish line in maybe a couple weeks. And then I have another brand under Queen's Temple called Aromatic Moods, and that is my candle and aromatherapy brand. And they thought that that was very, very unique. And I came up with that name because aroma does something. And I know everybody can agree with me. Aroma is therapy. Aroma, and there's a quote by Maggie Stiefvater that I have on my website. Scent is the power. It's the most powerful. What did I say? Scent is the most powerful form of, I can't think of it right now, but you can go to my website and read it. Oh, scent is the strongest tie to memory. And it is. Because if you think about it, a scent can take you back to childhood. So that's where Aromatic Moods came. But I had to make sure that that name was protected. That's your intellectual property. So that's what I would tell a maker. Think about it. Yes, it is a little costly, so but it's worth it. And the trademark attorney that I have was recommended from the CEO actually of the Third. And she gave me that information, and I reached out to that attorney who's in Florida, and she's taking care of everything. So make sure you trademark, or if you can't afford trademarking it, keep the brand right now, your name, just keep it in an envelope somewhere. You know, don't put it out there too much to too many people. Use a little ghost name right now or something, you know, but your brand name, keep that to yourself until you can trademark it, because that's so important. You don't want to get, and I did a video on this, you don't want to get a cease and desist letter from an attorney telling you to stop using that name because somebody has gone to the trademark office and filed their brand, and now you have to stop using it. You have to stop using a logo, you know, get your own logo as well. So that would be, you know, one of the biggest things that I would offer to a maker, an aspiring maker or a new maker, even older makers that have been out there for a while, that have just had their names, their brands just floating around. Because, you know, the world that we live in, people want things instantly. If they see you making a lot of money and they take that name, like pulling the rug from under your feet, and they get it trademarked, then you're going to get a letter that tells you to stop. And you've been doing it for maybe 10 or 15 years, and you have to stop. That's crushing. It really is. So that would be something that I would pass on to makers, you know, protect your intellectual property.
Yeah, definitely. Trademarking is something that we have applied for as well. And is very, you know, everything is about money and business. There's a lot of fees involved, and there's trademarking for every single, you know, if I trademark pieces under this area, that's good. But if I want to sell clothing and make it a label, that's a whole separate trademark.
Yeah.
I think it is important if you have a name that is unique, that you do protect it. And also other formalities in terms of registering your business with the state that you're in. You know, a lot of us just start businesses and we go out and we do business, et cetera, but you need to register your business with whatever state that you're in. Once you've decided that you're going to move it from maybe a hobby or a hustle to a business. Because, and even if you're going to be a sole proprietor, you can still register your name with the state. And if you're going to be an LLC, then of course you have to do that. But it's always good to protect yourself that way. And once you register your name with the state, then you're protected for that in the state, that nobody else can come and register in the state of Maryland under that name or whatever state you're in.
Great. We have a couple of questions in the chat that I want to make sure we address. I'd love to start with Waib for this, but to also hear from everyone. What is your most popular product?
Wow. Didn't Rochelle say know your product at one time? Know your best product. Yeah, I'm going to say that the soap, the Bami soap is going to be the best product. That's our signature scent, and it's very neutral, so that men or women, anybody can wear it. And well, that's my mom's first scent that she started making. And years ago, I come from the elevator trade, and I had a brother that I worked with, and he was, you know, a manly man, strong, you know, elevator guy, right? And he would always come around and ask for this bummy. And I said, well, it smells kind of, I said, it's more feminine, right? And he said, no, man, it just says clean. He said, I smoke cigarettes and it just covers the smell up really good. So he would come around and ask for this big thing of balmy lotion and stuff. We used to carry lotion at the market. And so, like, yeah, he would come around and get this big big bottle of lotion, and I'm just like, wow. He said, how much would it cost to make like a big jug of it for me, man? You know. So yeah, the Bami, at first I thought it was mainly for women, you know, and then I understood, you know, especially in the lotion, because different products accentuate the scents a little differently. You know, it's going to smell a little different because in the soap, because of the ingredients, you know, the shea butter, overcoming those different ingredients is going to change it somewhat. But you know, he reassured me, and I remember going to a cookout, and I put the oil in my hair, and the women started passing me around. Smell his hair, smell his hair. I'm like, okay, this works. You know, and that, of course, I learned, you know, that consciousness, that evolution for me. You know, I learned that, you know, when you're dealing with soaps, you don't have to have that masculine scent. You know, I started washing my hair with a vanilla raspberry. You know, and I'm like, it just, I like that aroma, that aromatherapy you're talking about, right? That aroma from it just goes down my hair and runs down my face. You know, and it's just like, you know, that kind of gives you an uplift to start the day when you smell these different products. So we don't have to be so we don't have to stay in this box, you know, anymore. So it's like I said, it's just an evolution for me, and I pass the same thing on to my customers, you know. But at the same time, you know, we have to be careful. It's in the soap is one thing, but then in the butter, some of the products might be, you know, you might want to watch where you're going with that, you know, because then it makes someone like a perfume or you know, it's stronger.
I have a story about, because my favorite Burmese scent is lemongrass. And I have a story because I would wear it. And I used to go to teach young people sewing class after school. And I would sit there, and this little boy would come by me every time I came. And he would just sit next to me. And I was like, oh, is he, you know, is he set? Whatever. But he would just get close to me. And then one day he just said, you smell so good.
Oh, man.
I was like, okay. And that, you know, that lemongrass, I love the smell of lemongrass.
Wow.
Yes, I love lemongrass too.
But, and I always get comments when I wear that, wherever I am, because it's a clean scent. It's very fresh. So I just love that scent.
Oh man, great story. I won't forget that one. But that's the thing, you know, that's that relationship with the customers. Like, you know, I talk to people and I haven't seen them in years. I can barely remember their name, but I might remember what scent they bought. You know, I might know what they buy because they buy it regularly, you know. So that's that relationship. That's that bond with the customer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like the butters because you don't have to like spray a lot of perfume or anything. It's just you put it on and it's light and it's really good product. So, and Rochelle, I love your butters too.
Oh my goodness. Let me tell you, my number one product is, I have to say, First Snow. That's my number one fragrance. First Snow is amazing. And First Snow was born from one of my customers. One of my customers. I used to go to a place in Baltimore called the Terra Cafe. And I ate at the Terra Cafe, and the owner there, Terrence, he let me have my first little table. And his manager, she came up to me and she said, "Hey, can you make a scent that smells like detergent?" And I looked at her like, detergent? Who wants to wear something that smells like detergent? She said, like Tide. I said, I don't know if that's going to sell or not. But guess what? I got in the Google and I said, okay, let me research some fragrances. And I found a fragrance that I blended, and First Snow was born because I wanted the name to reflect like a first snow. You know how first snow comes down, it smells like crisp. If snow had a fragrance.
Right.
And this fragrance is amazing. It's so amazing. It started off in a butter. I make it into a glycerin soap bar. I also make it into a sugar scrub. And then this past Christmas, I put it in one of my room refreshers.
Oh my goodness.
They go crazy over first snow. It is so clean. And it has a finish with a very powdery finish to it. So it's not as hard, if that makes sense. That hard, crisp kind of, you don't want it too strong where it gives you a headache.
Right.
So I didn't want to add vanilla to it, but I added another proprietary fragrance to it to calm it down a little. And they love it. I mean, everywhere I go, if I put it on, my grandson even, he loves it. He's almost 5. Right. And he loves it. And it's not a feminine fragrance. It's not a masculine fragrance. It is a unisex fragrance. It kind of reminds you of years ago, we had Ivory soap, and Ivory soap was a staple everywhere. You know, soap that floated, the 99.9% pure Ivory bar. It reminds you of that type of clean. I have men and women who love it. So it's just in a box where one gender can wear it. It's a unisex fragrance, and it's beautiful. And it smells different on everyone. It smells clean, but it takes on your chemistry.
Yeah. I think clean is universal.
Clean is. Yes.
Before we go though, I want to really impress or share about how makers can impact the community. And Stephanie, you mentioned before that when you like a Black business, you should tell them and tell other people about them. And it's so important now that we support each other and we support Black business, particularly since the pandemic. 41% of Black businesses closed during the pandemic. And business is really the heartbeat of a community. If we have businesses are where you're going to get your resources. When you look at the numbers for wealth, the white community has $188,000 in terms of wealth, whereas the Black community has $24,000. And they're projecting by 2053 that wealth number is going to be 0. So we have to really look at how many times, I know we've all heard the stories about how many times the dollar turns over in our community, not one time, and in other communities, it turns over more times because there's more interaction and exchange and people are supporting each other. And I think one of the ways that we can really deal with some of the issues that we have in our community is through, as Rochelle was saying, education and also economics. We have to begin to build our own economics and work together to educate people on how important that is. And I'll say for myself, I was a grown woman before I really realized how that worked. And when I was I was in DC at the time, and looking there like on H Street on H Street, and how at one time that was not a good place to be. And then all of a sudden it started changing. And we can see all around us how neighborhoods change. Canton in Baltimore is another example. It used to be warehouses and broken down houses. And now it's a paradise over there for people to live. But that doesn't happen by magic. That happens by people making decisions and designing and deciding to take charge of their own neighborhoods. And of course, people have a lot of help in doing that, and they're capitalized in doing that. And that's not something that we necessarily have, but we do have each other. We have our creativity, and we have our passion for making and for our community, for building community. So I think we need to be educated about that and let people know it's not just about making money. It's about making a future for, I'm starting to sound like a commercial or something. It's about making a future for our children, for future generations, but it is. And another thing is that, you're never too old and it's never too late. You have a vision or, something that you're passionate about, or even something you want to learn, then go for it. And there are people out there to help you, and we're here to help you.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And start where you are.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to save money, or start where you are with what you have and build on that. I had milk cartons when I started off with my soaps. I had no molds. I had a Pringle can and a milk carton, literally, that I was told on YouTube to wash out, spray it with alcohol, clean it really good, let it dry out before I started using that as a mold. A milk carton and a Pringles can. So if I can start off with a milk carton and a Pringles can, you can start off with what you have.
Absolutely.
It took me 10 years to get here, but I never stopped. Keep going.
Absolutely.
Yes. Please.
I was just going to say that those things remind me of a time where we did a Kunta Kinte festival. Must have been 15 or more years ago, and we were handwriting. We would handwrite the names of the products on the lotions and everything, and the soaps.
Yeah.
And it was like, for us, it was like it was good, you know what I mean? But then when you look back and reflect on it, like, wow, what was I thinking? The love was there,
Right.
We were at the Kunta Kinte festival on when it was at St. John's College, and they had this huge tent where all the vendors were in, and it rained something crazy this day like I never seen before or since. And it was like the wind picked the water up off the lake and threw it into the tent sideways. And so everybody their clothes was wet, the stuff that they were selling was all wet and everything. And then the sun came out and all the vendors were shopping with each other and having a good time, but that love was there, and that it was something spiritual that happened that day. You know what I mean? The vibe was just amazing.
Yeah.
It's never been duplicated again as far as the vibe for Kunta Kinte Festival, but something that I'll never forget.
Before I give one last brief question for everyone, I want to go back to you, Akrama, to hear what is your best-selling or your customer's favorite product?
I think it's the tote bags. Yeah. And that was the first product. I think that was the first product that I made, the tote bags. And totes are pretty a big staple in the society. Most companies have totes, and they're very versatile. But I started out making them out of very florally patterns, and they sold like hotcakes.
And so this last question is for everyone. You've all talked about overcoming challenges through the pandemic, through changing spaces, through starting small and growing into having more resources. In 2 or 3 sentences, tell us, how have you built resilience and managed to stay in business throughout all the different challenges that life throws at you? What is it that keeps you passionate and grounded? How do you stay in this thing when it gets tough?
Rochelle? I'm always ladies always first.
I think for me, it's going to be an easy answer. My customers. I don't want to let them down, and I think that's my biggest reason why I keep going, because my customers, I look at their faces when they make a purchase, and they're happy, and when they send me feedback and reviews. How can you crush someone's spirit and say that you're not going to do it anymore, or that you've run up into a brick wall? they'll be looking at you like, don't you know how to jump over the brick wall or get around it? You have to, here we go, Crumb, pivot. You have to pivot. And I think pivoting has kept me going, and just that drive to make sure I don't disappoint my customers. I just keep on making a better product for my customers, because they are who make Queen's Temple what Queen's Temple is. Without them, I would just still be working in corporate America, coming home and, burning out and everything like that. But my customers, I think that's the biggest, drive for me.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Okay. For me, of course, I'd say the same thing. It's the customers, and just the experience with the customers. Just to know that people have bought products, and even when they couldn't find us, they said, "Well, we're going to try some other stuff," and they say, "Well, we went all over the place. We tried all these different things." But none of them matched up to the butter or the soap that you have, And it's like, okay, I know I got a good product.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever challenges that I have, those are the things I need to deal with. I got a good product. Everybody don't have that unique product, and they still do what they do. So, I got a chance. I'm going to always keep pushing if I got a chance. And I enjoy it. I just enjoy connecting with the customers. So just to build, connect, meet new people, learn new experiences. I'm traveling without moving.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah. For me, it's the vision of a community that is aware and engaged with its creativity. And if we can demonstrate how people can come together and use their talents, to be successful and to support said community and teach, those who come after us that you're creative beings. That's one of the most powerful abilities we have, is the ability to create.
Yes.
And it's not just in, as we say, it's not just in some of us, it's in each and every one of us. And at the Pieces Collective, we just want to demonstrate the possibilities that can come from using our creativity together.
Well, thank you so much, panelists, Waib, Rochelle, Ikrama. I'm so glad that you found these ways to be resilient and stay in business, because after this conversation, I'm going to need a Bami soap. I'm going to need a First Snow soap. I'm going to need a beautiful tote bag to put them in. So I'm so glad that I can get your products online, and we'll have to check you out in person as well the next time I'm in Baltimore. Thank you so much to our viewers for joining us today. Please do come back and join us next time for Black Motherhood, Shaping Our Families and Future. Panelists will discuss Black mothers and shaping our families and community. That's happening on May 17th from 7 to 8:45 p.m. Eastern. And join us for the Pieces Collective's Juneteenth 5K Walk for Wellness. This is the third annual Juneteenth 5K Walk, and that's happening on Sunday, June 18th and Monday, June 19th. But wait, if you're like, that's too far away, I need to get together with my people in person, you are in luck. We've got something coming up for you. The Pieces Collective is meeting in person Saturday, April 22nd. That's this Saturday, from noon to 5 p.m. at the Infinity More Healing Center for the Sunshine and Soul Mind Body Festival. It's an afternoon of presentations and vendor booths to provide a fun, educational, family-friendly environment and to support and promote wellness and local-based businesses. So definitely make sure that you click all the resources, Go check out our panelists' websites, support their businesses, find them online, find them in person, continue to support the Pieces Collective through these amazing events, subscribe to the email list, make sure that you stay tuned for all of the amazing content and products to come. Again, thank you so much to our panelists for this inspiration, and thank you to Akrama Muhammad and Karen Freeman for gathering us together through the Pieces Collective. We'll see you next time, and good night.